The Kether engineering bay vibrated with its signature low resonance, a deep, unsettling frequency that always made human bones feel slightly out of tune. Melissa stood in front of the towering, dust-laden cylindrical structure at the heart of the room, her work tablet in hand. Across from her, 7 Kathari engineers observed her every move, their triple-jointed eye stalks swaying in unison, an alien gesture she had learned to interpret as heavy skepticism. "Human Melissa," chirped Chief Engineer Vaughn, his translator flattening his natural clicks and whistles into monotone English. "We have informed you 17 times. The quantum resonance core has been non-functional for 143 of your Earth years. Our greatest minds have attempted restoration. It cannot be revived." Melissa smiled. That smile Barack insisted meant she was about to cause trouble, the fun kind. "And I've told you 17 times, Vaughn. I haven't looked at it yet." Barack leaned against a nearby support column, arms folded as a grin tugged at his mouth. He'd seen this exact expression months ago when their water reclamation unit failed and the Kathari insisted they needed 6 weeks for replacement parts from Earth. Melissa had repaired it in 40 minutes using pieces from a coffee maker and a salvaged solar panel. The Kathari spent days trying to understand how. Vaughn continued, eye stalks drooping in what humans might call sorrow. "This core was once the heart of Station Gamma 7. It housed 4 million of our people. It generated endless clean energy, environmental regulation, and artificial gravity without any rotational systems. Now we survive in the outer rings, cramped, cold, because the knowledge of our ancestors has been lost." Melissa walked around the towering device, brushing her hand along the cold metal coated in centuries of dust despite the station's filtration. Dead holographic panels hovered nearby, their glowing edges flickering weakly around flatline diagnostics in Kathari script. "What have you tried?" she asked quietly. Vaughn's translator produced a long sigh. "Everything. We replaced every external component. We tested every subsystem. We consulted ancient manuals. We even," he hesitated, "prayed to the old engineers. Did that work?" "No." Barack watched her circle the machine with that intense problem-solving focus she'd had since university. They'd met at Istanbul Technical University, both engineers though each with different destinies. Barack pursued spacecraft design. Melissa developed an obsession with old, stubborn machinery. The older the better. "The Kathari are genius," Barack had once told her. "Their tech is centuries ahead." "Then why do they need us?" she had asked. Now he understood. They'd advanced so far that they no longer knew how to think simply. "Barack," Melissa called, still circling the massive core. "Remember Professor Yilmaz's first rule?" He chuckled. "Check if it's plugged in." The Kathari, confused by the phrase, rotated their eye stalks at one another. "Plugged in," Vaughn repeated uncertainly. Melissa ignored the confusion and crouched near a panel at the base of the structure. It wasn't locked, just sealed with age. She pulled her multi-tool free, selected a flat pry edge, and eased the panel open with a satisfying metallic pop. Inside was a dense tangle of crystalline conduits, glowing faintly in soft, pulsating colors. All but one. A thick cable, darker than the rest and completely inert, wound upward into the core's inner architecture. Melissa followed it, tracing it with her fingers until it vanished behind the device. "There you are," she murmured. She slipped behind the core, squeezing into a shadowed corner of the engineering bay rarely visited. A forgotten junction box was mounted on the wall, buried beneath a blanket of dust so thick it had formed a hardened crust. Vaughn edged closer. "What is that?" "Your problem," Melissa said. She wiped away the dust. Beneath it was something astonishingly primitive, a mechanical switch. "It's in the off position." Silence spread through the engineering bay. Even the humming seemed to pause. Vaughn's voice quivered. "Impossible. There is no such mechanism in the schematics." "Whoever drew the schematics," Melissa replied, gripping the switch, "probably assumed everyone already knew about the emergency shutdown. It's a basic safety feature. Something catastrophic happens, you flip the kill switch and shut everything down." "For 1,000 years?" Vaughn whispered. Melissa shrugged. "Maybe someone panicked during an emergency. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe sabotage. Doesn't matter." She looked at Vaughn. "Should I try it?" All 7 Kathari stared at the switch as if it were a sacred relic. Vaughn trembled. "If you are wrong, nothing occurs. If you are right. If I'm right, you get your station back." Vaughn said something in his native language, and the other engineer stepped back as if granting the moment ritual significance. Finally he nodded. "Try it." Melissa took a breath, then flipped the switch. 3 seconds passed. Nothing. Barack's heart hammered in the quiet. The Kathari stood impossibly still. Then, something deep beneath their feet began to vibrate. The vibration grew, becoming a rising harmonic tone, unlike the flat mechanical hum of Kathari tech. This sound was alive, layered, almost musical. The holographic displays around the core burst awake, cascading with streams of data. Lights rippled upward along the cylindrical structure in sweeping waves of blue and gold. A shudder traveled through the entire station as ancient systems reconnected, realigned, and awakened after a millennium of sleep. Somewhere in the distance, a thunderous boom echoed, the unmistakable roar of the central gravity generators spinning up after lifetimes of silence. Vaughn's translator failed to capture the raw emotion in the sound the Kathari made, a trembling, resonant cry that vibrated through the chamber. One by one the other engineers joined him, their voices weaving into a haunting, joyous chorus. Barack exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. He turned just as Melissa stepped back from the junction box, brushing dust from her palms. "See," she said with a faint grin. "Just needed someone to flip a switch." Across the station alarms came to life, their tones bright and exuberant. Happy alarms, Barack thought. They indicated system restoration, environmental stabilization, and energy flow. Vaughn approached Melissa slowly, eye stalks arranged in a complicated, swirling pattern she recognized as the Catheri's highest gesture of respect. His voice trembled through the translator. "Human Melissa," he said, "for generations we have called this place Gamma 7 Dead. Tonight, we rename it." Melissa raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess. Something dramatic? We will call it Melissa's Gift." She startled, then shook her head. "Call it Gamma 7 Alive. That's enough of a gift." Vaughn hesitated, then nodded reverently. "And," Melissa added, flashing that dangerous smile, "maybe check your other broken stations. Someone might have left a few more switches turned off." Barack laughed. The Kathari attempted laughter too, their translators struggling but succeeding enough to produce a chorus of clicking amusement. As the revived core pulsed with renewed power behind them, Melissa and Barack watched the holographic displays stabilize into bright, healthy readings. Systems that had been considered lost to time were now fully operational, humming with robust efficiency. In that moment, it became clear that humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't advanced technology, brute strength, or heroic legends. It was their stubborn ability to challenge the impossible with the simplest question imaginable. "Did you try turning it off and on again?" The engineering bay transformed from a chamber of hopeless silence into a living cathedral of technology reborn. The quantum resonance core pulsed steadily now, its harmonic song weaving through the facility like a long-forgotten anthem finally rediscovered. Everywhere Melissa and Barack looked, systems flickered online. Lighting grids, atmosphere scrubbers, automated maintenance drones, and the vast station's central life support systems waking from a 1,000-year slumber. Teams of Kathari poured into the bay, alerted by the alarms. The newcomers gazed in awe at the restored core, their eye stalks trembling with disbelief as data reports scrolled down holographic panels. One engineer whispered, "We thought we would never see it alive again." Another murmured, "This station raised generations of our ancestors. Its heart beats once more." Vaughn stood beside Melissa, still absorbing the magnitude of what had happened. "Human Melissa," he said quietly, "your kind approaches problems differently than we do. We look for complexity. You look for clarity. We look for the stupid stuff first," Melissa corrected with a grin. "It saves time." Barack chimed in, "And repairs coffee makers apparently." The Kathari blinked in confusion, but Melissa only laughed. Technicians reported status updates. Energy flow stable. Gravity fields equalizing. Environmental controls online. Habitation sectors warming. Core output increasing toward historical capacity. The transformation felt like resurrection. Melissa watched the revived heart of Gamma 7 and felt a quiet pride, not in her genius, but in humanity's knack for blunt honesty, stubbornness, and the willingness to poke at problems others considered untouchable. Vaughn turned toward a glowing console, his eye stalks bending reverently. "We believed whole civilizations of knowledge were lost. But perhaps, we simply forgot which questions to ask." Melissa wiped her hands one final time and holstered her multi-tool. "Well, now you remember." Barack nudged her gently. "You realize you've just rewritten 1,000 years of history." She shrugged. "All I did was flip a switch." But the Kathari would tell the story differently. They would speak of the human engineer who restored the lost heart of their station. The one who reminded them that ancient brilliance isn't found only in advanced theories, but also in simple truths hidden in plain sight. And so, as Gamma 7 blazed back to life, one lesson echoed across species and centuries. Sometimes the greatest leap forward begins with the smallest, simplest act.